I had a really close friend of mine recently, and I'm talking from college, reach out to me. Here's the thing about most men. We act like we got the world by the tail. We act like we got everything going on great. But in reality, a lot of times it's a house of cards. You know, a lot of us have a bag of secrets we carry on our back, and a lot of times we don't know what's going on. So I think one of my gifts that I found out is I found out by being vulnerable and sometimes opening up and sharing and asking people how they're doing. After I've shared about myself, they've done this. And I had a close friend of mine, and once again, I've known him from college. And we talk, and recently he confided in me. And I had told him at the beginning that, you know, I have some things in my life that I'm just killing it in. And I've got some other areas that they're falling apart. And in our conversation, I kind of shared some things, and I asked him, how are you? And a lot of times most guys say, oh man, I'm doing great, my work's going great, my family's going great, everything is going great. But in reality, it's not. So when I shared with him and asked him, man, how are you doing? Not work, not any, how are you doing? And he broke down and said, you know what, I've been struggling with a lot of things. And he literally told me, and it's a crazy number. He was in a position that he can do it, but over the last, I think about 4 years, and because I'm in the mortgage industry, this guy owned a bunch of rental properties. He was going through some depression and was selling a rental property almost a year. It was literally, he said, I've gone almost $500,000 between prostitutes and cocaine, dealing with this depression, filling this hole in my life. And I had a friend of mine commit suicide about 3 years ago. There's not a week that doesn't go by that it doesn't rock my world. I think about him because he called me the night before it happened, and we were close. I didn't realize how close we really were. I found out that I was like his best friend. But we talked the day before, and I didn't really know anything. And that's what rocked me. How did I not know? How did I not say anything? And what happened to me was I was actually at church in the parking lot, and a friend of mine came up to me and saw me. And he'd known that I was having some struggles and different things, and he came up and said, hey, Alan, how are things? You know what I did? I did the typical guy thing. I said, oh man, everything's great, it's awesome. The typical 15-second, work's great, family's great, kids are great, whatever. And he stopped me and looked me right in the eyes and said, Alan, so I'm asking you, how are you doing? And I started crying in the parking lot right there because he knew and he broke through. And I shared with him. And since that point, and probably because my friend committed suicide, it's made me be very intentional with my friends. Now, some people, you don't want to share everything because some people can use that against you. But you know what? You can find out who your friends are. And sometimes it takes us being vulnerable because nobody wants to admit. Once again, we want to act like we got everything going great, but in reality, we don't. So I've just found that just from my friend and some other people around me, and I had a friend in Roswell I met with recently. I looked up to this guy, tremendously look up to him, and shared some stuff about my life that was not going on great. He says, oh my gosh, Alan, we got to grab lunch. And he proceeded to tell me that he had gone to prison for 5 years, about 15 years ago for something. I'd have never in a million years known that. And because of me opening up, sharing a little bit, it made him share some things going on with his life. And I looked at him and thought everything was going great and wonderful. But you know what? Just like all of us, we're human beings. We're flawed. We've got things that are going great. Sometimes they're not. But it's so important for us to look to those around us and don't just do the superficial. It's great. Take a minute and stop and try to break through the facade and look at your friends. Maybe share something about yourself that's real and raw and honest. Open up your heart. Look around you. Make a difference to those around you and in your life.